Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to some more Pokemon action. I'm your host Ryan, and today what we're going to be doing is having a spoiler discussion about the new Trick Room setters in Sun and Moon, and my overall estimate of who's going to be strong and who's not. So like I said, this is going to be spoilers. I think every single Pokemon except for two have already been revealed, so it's not going to be revealing any new Pokemon. Two of them are kind of new. I think they actually were just revealed, so I don't think anything is going to be a surprise to you guys. But what this is going to be revealing is base stats, move pools, abilities that may not have been announced, typings which may not have been announced, although I think if they were all announced they were given typings, and move sets, so there might be some new moves in there. So if you don't want spoilers, just close out right now. Don't worry, I won't be talking about it on Twitter or anything like that. The thumbnail and title are spoiler free, but let's get into the discussion. So before we actually discuss this, I want to make note that obviously there's no meta right now. So we don't know what's going to be good, we don't know what's going to be bad. All we have are base stats and move sets and abilities to go off of. So the best that I can do is run damage calcs and figure out who's going to be able to to set up Trick Room against most of the meta, and then those Pokemon will tend to be meta. I'm honestly a little unhappy with some of the choices that we have. We lost Cresselia, Aromatisse, and Dusclops, which is not very good. I mean, I kind of assumed Cresselia won't be back. She is the best Trick Room setter in the game, but that was sort of known. But losing Aromatisse and Dusclops was really bad because those were very good options. We also lost Mr. Mime. Mr. Mime is an excellent Trick Room setter, so that's a little unfortunate. But we will go into the Trick Room setters. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new Trick Room setters in Sun and Moon. 2 of which I'm a little iffy on whether or not they will be legal. One of those 2, I will say that there might be story spoilers when I'm talking about them, because I don't know if it's actually a story spoiler. All I know is that it's possibly a story spoiler. So if I'm right, I'm not only spoiling you guys, I'm spoiling myself, because I don't know for a 100% fact. But let's get into it. So the first Pokemon on the list is Comfey, which is a fairy type. Comfey runs 51 HP, 52 attack, 90 defense, 82 special attack, 110 special defense, and 100 speed. Now the speed is obviously very odd. I don't really understand why they gave this Pokemon 100 base speed. I can see where they're coming for in singles, but I don't. As a Trick Room setter, we don't need that speed. The defenses are slightly on par with Aromatisse, but the problem is the HP. The HP is really low, and that's not exactly the best of things. However, it does get a very awesome ability. So it's two of the 3 abilities are Flower Veil and Natural Cure. You already know what that is. Flower Veil is basically what Florges gets. It powers up grass types in grassy terrain. I think it's pretty useless. I don't see many people going to be running that unless they're running a Comfey and a Tapu Bulu combination. I can see that, but I don't really see anyone really using that ability. But the real ability that I want to talk about is Triage. Triage is a new ability that gives priority to every single healing type attack in the game. You may be wondering, well, what does that mean? Well, basically, if Comfey uses Draining Kiss, for example, which it gets, it has priority on Draining Kiss. If it uses Synthesis, which it gets priority on Synthesis. But what's really cool about this, and what kind of makes up for the low HP, is that it gets a new attack called Floral Healing. Now, Floral Healing restores the target's HP up to half of its maximum HP, and it restores more if the terrain is grassy. So that's actually pretty good. 50% of its max HP is excellent. It's basically Synthesis, but you can use it on allies. So it's a heal pulse, but it also heals more on grassy terrain. So that's really nice. That kind of sort of makes up for the low base HP, but yeah, you know. Now its moveset is really nice. It has Helping Hand. It has I'm just trying to, it has the floral healing, which is good. It does get grassy terrain, which is pretty nice. It gets taunt, which is pretty useful. It gets safeguard. I'm trying to look at what else it might get. It doesn't really get much else in terms of support, but helping, you get Trick Room, Helping Hand, healing, and Draining Kiss. That's really all you need. But let's move into the damage calculations. Now, the damage calculations are interesting. So what I do when I do damage calcs is I set up the Pokemon with nothing. So Comfy's running 0 HP, 0 defense or special defense, and a neutral nature. Then on the opposite side, I set up the strongest possible condition. So for example, in Alola, the strongest Pokemon that can hit Comfy super effectively with Stab is Gengar. So Gengar has Choice Specs, it has Sludge Bomb, and on top of that, I determined what I perceive the meta nature to be. So Gengar, for example, won't really be running Modest, so instead will run Timid. So Gengar running Timid, Choice Specs, and Sludge Bomb does X amount of damage to Comfy, and from there I start to I work up I go straight up to 252, 252, and then I slowly take away AVs until I get the damage just under 100. So I keep doing that and fidgeting with, you know, like Gengar, Choice Specs, no matter what I do. If I go 252, 252, positive nature, it always one-hit KOs me. So from there, I take off the Choice Specs and I put on Life Orb, and I see, okay, well, Life Orb still one-hit KOs me no matter what. So I take off the Life Orb, and then I start, you know, messing around with it. So I came up with 252 HP and 108 special defense, neutral nature, Gengar Sludge Bomb, 252 special attack, Timid nature, does 83 to 98%. So there we go, we can survive that. That's the strongest poison type attacking, or actually strongest stab, super effective attack in the game that can hit Comfy. So perfect, that's great. If it has Life Orb, we know we can't stay in against it. It has Choice Specs, we know we can't stay in against it. Awesome. Now, I don't know if the Ultra Beasts will be legal. We don't know that yet, but they are the strongest in the decks, or for the most part, they're the strongest in the decks, so we will be using them. Now, Kartana is a Grass Steel Ultra Beast. It has 181 attack. Again, I start off with Choice Band, Life Orb, and then no item, and we ended up with 252 HP, 148 defense, Relaxed Nature, and Iron Head, which for Kartana has base 70 because it's a new move and I forget what it's called. It does the same as the Sludge Bomb, 83 to 98%. Good. So that's how I do my damage calculations. We figure out a spread that can survive attacks from both sides of the spectrum, from both of the strongest Pokemon in the game, or in the decks at least. And then we kind of figure it out from there, and this is where we come into the viability. I think Comfy will be strong. Comfy has priority healing. It can take hits from both sides of the spectrum relatively easily. Downside is that if they're invested in an item, so Life Orb or Choice Specs, it's going to be a problem and we won't be able to survive it. It's going to be interesting to see where this one lies. The speed is interesting too. I'm not really sure how that will come into play because I feel like a lot of people are going to be running priority Draining Kiss instead, so the speed really doesn't matter. But whatever. I think Comfy is going to be okay. I don't think it's going to be great. I don't think it's going to be crappy. I think it's going to be okay. Now, moving on, we've got Oranguru. Now, this is the Pokemon that I figured was automatically getting Trick Room. There's no way this thing was not getting Trick Room. It's normal Psychic. Its base stats are 90 HP, 60 attack, 80 defense, 90 special attack, 110 special defense, and 60 speed. So this is automatically, like, I really like these stats. It's decently bulky. It has some really good options and all that. I love that. Its abilities are even awesome, or even better. It's got Inner Focus, Telepathy, and Symbiosis. Now, Symbiosis is kind of like one of those, well, like, could work, maybe not. Like, maybe if you paired this with a Scizor who's running Lumberry, it gets burned, and then you pass it a Life Orb. hey, that works pretty well. But Inner Focus and Telepathy are excellent abilities for VGC. So that's just based on team. Like if you have a lot of Earthquake Surf spammers, you go Telepathy. If you've got a lot, if you just need fake out pressure, you just go Inner Focus. Its moveset is pretty interesting. I like its moveset as well. It gets Taunt, it gets Quash, it gets Instruct, which is basically kind of like a Helping Hand, but instead of priority, it just goes at a regular turn. I'll read the description for you right off. The user instructs the target to use the target's last move again. So it's basically a hybrid Encore and Helping Hand. It only lasts for 1 turn, but the reason why it's kind of like Helping Hand is because if you use it on your teammate, they attack again regardless. So let's just say we have Marowak, right? Marowak goes for an Earthquake. Oranguru, the same turn, instructs it again. It goes for a second Earthquake. So the reason why I say it's kind of like Helping Hand is because Helping Hand does a 1.5 times boost to the attack. This time, it's actually a stronger attack, and they get to attack twice. So, like, if there's an Aegislash, which isn't legal in VGC 17, was just for argument's sake, if there's an Aegislash with a substitute up, you get the Marowak Earthquake, you break the sub, and then you instruct it again to go for Earthquake, and you get the KO. So that's an excellent move. Excellent, excellent, excellent. It also gets Foul Play, which is actually pretty decent on something that you're not going to really be attacking as much. But the thing is that this thing also has 90 special attack, which is just really nice. So you can throw a Psychic on there. There's really no normal stab that you really want to run. It doesn't even get Hyper Voice, so you can't get that. But yeah, you can run Psychic. But I think a pretty common moveset we'll see is probably going to be Trick Room, Instruct for sure. It does get Psychic Terrain, which not only increases Psychic type attacks, but it also prevents priority. So I think what we might see is Trick Room, Psychic Terrain, Instruct, and Psychic. That might be a very possible option. Unfortunately, it doesn't get Helping Hand, which, you know, has its positives over Instruct. Helping Hand's priority. There's no way you can get taunted before using Helping Hand unless you get taunted the turn before, so that's one thing to consider. But, you know, I think Instruct is stronger than Helping Hand. It's just Helping Hand has a little bit more utility in generality, if that makes sense. One thing that you're going to have to realize with Oranguru is that you really need to know speed tiers. You do not want your Oranguru to be faster in Trick Room than the person you're going to be instructing, because you'll just be grabbing the move from last turn, and if they weren't in there the last turn, you're gonna end up with an empty turn because the instruct will do nothing. So you can't be running Oranguru with something like a Zard Y, right? Not that you can in VGC, but I'm just exampling. If you instruct the Charizard and the Charizard had just come in, nothing's gonna happen. So Oranguru's a very skillful Helping Hand. It's not going to be one of those things where you could just spam Helping Hand every single turn. It's not going to work that way. You have to carefully understand your speed tiers and where your Pokemon lies. However, I do think this is going to be one of the better of the new Trick Room setters. So on to the calcs. The strongest special attack that's super effective against Oranguru is Vikavolt. Vikavolt has 145 special attack. Now, the meta for him, he's really slow, so I assume he's going to be modest or quiet or just not speed buff, special attack buff. So unfortunately with Oranguru, no matter how I figured it, there was no way to guarantee a 2-hit KO for both special attack and offensive. So what you do there is you look into the meta and you think, okay, there's a lot of physical types, and there always will be physical attackers in this game. So I'd rather lean more onto the physical defense than on the special defense. So what we get here is that a Vikavolt Modest Nature's Bug Buzz will do 85 to 101%, which is a 6.3 chance to one-hit KO if I'm running 244 HP and 20 special defense. And that really works for me. 6.3 is a very minimal chance, so it's fairly safe to stay in against a Vikavolt, and I'm okay with that. And on top of that, Scizor, who's not the strongest bug type in the game, the strongest physical bug type or Pokemon that can hit this guy for super effective damage, is going to be a Pokemon called Buzzwole. It is an Ultra Beast. You'll be seeing it a little bit later, but unfortunately Oranguru can't survive that. But Scizor, 252 attack, Adamant Nature, Life Orb, Leech Life, which is 80 base power now, will do 83 to 99%, which is a 2-hit KO, and we're running 244 HP and defense, Relaxed Nature. Now, one of the interesting things here to note is that Scizor's Bug Bite is stronger than Leech Life. However, I'm taking a bit of a risk here, and kind of predicting the meta. I don't think we'll see the Scizors with Bug Bite much anymore. Leech Life is 80 base power and it heals, so I think we'll be seeing that a little bit more. So that's just kind of my guess there. This thing can definitely survive Buzzwole, who has 139 attack. It's just it can't survive it with a Life Orb, and I figured Scizor with Life Orb is stronger than Buzzwole without, so I figured that worked just as well. Now moving on, the next Pokemon is Mimikyu, which is Ghost Fairy, and this is one of the ones that actually really surprised me. I didn't expect it to A, be as bulky as it is, and B, actually have Trick Room. So I'm pretty happy about this. Ghost Fairy is an excellent defensive typing. We'll get into the stats. 55 HP, 90 attack, 80 defense, 50 special attack, 105 special defense, and 96 speed. The speed, again, is pretty surprising, but again, not too big of a deal. Was really a deal breaker with, or actually a deal... what makes this Pokemon is the ability Disguise. Disguise works as a free substitute. Basically what happens is any attack that hits you, even if you hit yourself in confusion, is completely nullified for one time the entire game. Now that seems like, okay, well then he has no ability for the rest of the game. Yeah, but what this allows you to do is basically set up against every single Pokemon in the game. Any single pairing, there's basically, unless they're like super strong, there's no way that you can't get Trick Room up, and that's why I love this Pokemon. Now you can get taunted, obviously, but you understand what I'm saying. So what's really cool about this Pokemon, other than its ability, is that it gets some pretty interesting attacks. So it gets Baby Doll Eyes. If you don't know Baby Doll Eyes, that came from 6th Gen. It's a priority attack, or priority status attack that lowers the target's attack stage by 1. I think that's pretty strong. I think that's pretty awesome. I actually really enjoy that. It's basically a free Intimidate whenever you feel like it. I love it. It gets Shadow Sneak, so that's a really interesting option. It does have 90 base attack, so it's not going to be like a pushover. It also gets Pain Split, so I think this thing will work a lot like Dusclops with Trick Room, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, and then maybe like Shadow Sneak. Maybe we'll see Baby Doll Eyes over Will-O-Wisp. I kind of doubt it. I like the concept of Baby Doll Eyes, but I really don't think we will see that. It gets Destiny Bond, which is interesting. It allows you to safely switch into another Pokemon. It also gets Leech Life, which again, you know, it's not stab, but get a little bit of health back. But I think the general moveset that we'll see would be Trick Room, Will-O-Wisp, Pain Split, and either Shadow Sneak or Play Rough. I think that's just a general idea, and I really like this Pokemon, because if you pair this with something like Oranguru, who the two of them together basically cover each other's weaknesses nearly perfectly, they can pretty much set up against the entire metagame, which is fantastic. Vikavolt can't do very much to Mimikyu because, again, Mimikyu quad resists Bug, and Electric it doesn't resist, but it does have that really nice 105 special attack or special defense. So I think Mimikyu is going to be one of the better setters that we get. So that's awesome. Next up is Bruxish. I don't know how to pronounce the name. It's Water Psychic, 68 HP, 105 attack, 70 defense, 70 special attack, 70 special defense, 92 speed. Really, it gets Strong Jaw, which is really good for the Pokemon, but it's not good for a Trick Room setting. It gets Dazzling, which is a new ability that prevents all priority, which is fantastic. That's actually really nice. And Wonder Skin, which is surprisingly actually not too bad. Wonder Skin gives a 50% accuracy reduction or makes every single status attack against this Pokemon 50% accurate. So, like, for example, if someone goes to taunt you, it's not guaranteed to go off. It actually has a 50% chance to miss. That's actually a pretty solid ability. The problem, though, is that its defenses are complete garbage, and no matter what calcs I was running, it gets one-hit KO'd by everything. So, as 105 attack with Strong Jaw, I think it's actually a pretty solid Pokemon, but unfortunately, it just gets whopped by everything. So, as you can see on screen in red font, I said don't even bother. This thing is not going to be your setter. If you want to use this as a setter, you can, but I really don't think it's going to be worth it. I really don't think it's going to be worth it. It's not that strong. And I'll explain with the moveset as well. So, Bruxus's moveset includes Disable, which is pretty nice, Taunt, which can help, Safeguard, which can help, it's really about it, and that's basically why. Not only does it doesn't have the defenses to set up against most Pokemon that we're going to be seeing in the meta, it just doesn't really have a move pool to help. Disable's nice, but if you can't take a hit, it doesn't really work too well. So Bruxus, not worth your energy. So moving on, I'm going to just skip 2, and we're going to go into Alolan Executor. Executor is a Grass Dragon type. It has 95 HP, 105 attack, 85 defense, 125 special attack, 75 special defense, and 45 speed. Both of its abilities are pretty useful. We've got Frisk and Harvest. You guys know what those do. And overall, Executor shouldn't be your first pick. It really shouldn't, because it doesn't really offer too much. Looking at its move pool, it gets Hypnosis, which isn't super accurate, so it's not super useful. It does get Light Screen, and I think it does get Reflect. I don't see... Yeah, it does get for Reflect. And that's really about it. It gets Explosion, which could be kind of an interesting option. But overall, it doesn't really get too many options. I think this is going to be one of those things where if you are building a team and you can't afford another Ghost or Dark or Bug weakness, well, actually, this thing's weak to Bug. If you can't afford another Ghost or Dark weakness, you try this out, and then you realize you're wrong, and you just choose Porygon 2 instead. But it's interesting because it also hits really hard. You don't even need to invest in special attack to hit this thing. It has 125 special attack already, so even uninvested, you're going to be getting a lot of damage. Grass Dragon isn't the greatest of attacks, but I think it's pretty decent. It is relatively defensive though, so Vikavolt, remember, strongest super effective attack in the meta, 145 special attack, modest nature, Bug Buzz, with 252 HP and 192 special defense, sassy nature. It will be taking a 2-hit KO, 83 to 99%. So that's actually pretty solid. And again, you know, shenanigans with Harvest. If you get Citrus Berry pops, that's going to be really nice. Physical side, Buzzswole, the Ultra Beast that I talked about, Bug Fighting, 252 attack, Adamant. So I wasn't really sure if I should go Jolly or Adamant on this thing because it sits at 79 speed, and I'm not really sure how the meta is going to develop for that. So I just went with Adamant just for the hell of it. Leech Life, again, base 80, really strong. I love it. 77 to 92% damage when we're running 252 HP and 64 defense. So realistically, he is actually pretty bulky, and I really do appreciate that. The thing is that it's a little uncomfortable. First of all, I didn't calc against 4x super effective moves because those are guaranteed to kill for the most part. When I reveal my entire list of calcs for the Trick Room setters for this region, I didn't calc anything against 4x super effective, because those you usually have to invest in order to survive, and what we're trying to do here is invest laterally to both defense and special defense to understand how they take the damage and how well they can take the damage. So for example, using Alolian Executor as an example, it's very easy to see that he's very physically defensive, so we don't really need to, like, if our team has a lot of physical walls in it that can take a lot of physical hits, then we can go 252 HP, 252 special defense, and sassy. Those kinds of EV spreads depends on the team. When the EV calcs that I'm doing right now depend on the Pokemon itself and not the team, so that's why I do these kinds of things. So Alolan Executor is an option. It's not really the best of options because it doesn't really support the team outside of getting Trick Room up, but it's still there to help. You know, I think it can work in some occasions. Okay, so moving on, we've got an Ultra Beast. Now, this thing is Nihilego. Why not? It's Rock Poison, so this is completely absurd typing for a Trick Room setter. I never would have assumed that this would happen. Now, it's an Ultra Beast. We don't know if they will be legal. I'm kind of hoping not. I don't think it will be a big deal if they are, but if they aren't, that'd be lovely. This thing has 109 HP, 53 attack, 43 defense, 127 special attack, 131 special defense, and 103 speed. And again, 103 speed is a little too fast for a Trick Room setter, but it's okay because if you look at those stats, it's actually pretty bulky. So I'll take that. Now, ground types are absolutely going to wreck it, especially physical types. It only has 47 base defense, so we're not going to calc those. Oh, and its Beast Boost ability, that's basically just a Moxie. If you get a KO, you get an attack boost. I think it boosts both of your attacks because these things tend to be kind of mixed. So I mean, that's pretty useful. I can see that being pretty decent. Let's actually look at its move pool real quick. I'm kind of curious. I don't think I even considered looking at this move pool when I was doing this because I didn't really think these things would be legal. It gets Power Split and Guard Split, which is actually not too bad because if you Guard Split your physical defense away and you have like something, I don't know, let's just go Mud's no, we're going Wishy-Washy because Wishy-Washy's strong as hell. If you go Wishy-Washy, Guard Split with their defenses, that's actually a pretty solid combo. So if this thing is legal, this might work. It does get Power Gem. It gets Mirror Coat, which is actually a pretty interesting option. It gets Light Screen. It gets Reflect. It gets T-Wave, which, hey, if you can't get up Trick Room, that it has decent speed, so that would work. I mean, like I said, I kind of hope these things aren't legal, but this thing's actually not too bad. It has really good defenses. Rock Poison is a very bizarre attacking combination, but it actually might work. It's a pretty decent defensive combination as well. But going into the calculations, the special defense on this thing is absolutely monstrous. You barely need to invest. 252 HP, 44 special defense, taking a Flash Cannon from Magnezone, 130 special attack base. We got 252 special attack, Modest, Choice Specs, Flash Cannon, 84 to 99% to hit KO. That's the strongest non-ground type stab move that can hit this Pokemon, and you have barely any investment, and it can just survive it. So this thing can set up against pretty much every single special attack in the game, so that is beautiful. And truthfully, I actually think I went through the list of Pokemon. I don't think there is a special ground type in the game, so congratulations, this thing can set up against ground types as well, as long as they're special. Now, physically, obviously, the 47 defense is going to be really crappy, but because of the special defense, we can invest a lot into it. So we got 252 HP, 212 defense, and a relaxed nature. Again, the Grass Steel Ultra Beast with 181 attack, using a base 70 Iron Head. It's basically Iron Head, it's just base 70. 252 attack, we are using Jolly because it sits at 109 speed, I think. So you kind of, and with 181 attack, you don't need to invest into attack. So I think Jolly makes the most sense there. With the spread, it does 83 to 98.1%. I calced Marowak without Thick Club against this thing with the exact same spread. Actually, I use 252, 252. It gets one hit KO'd. So don't even bother. You can't stay in against an Earthquake. That was base 80 attack without any boosts, without anything. So really, its physical defense is crap, but it can take super effective hits that are not ground. So it is actually pretty solid, and if this thing is legal, this might be a pretty good choice for semi-fast Trick Rooms. I think that would be a pretty good option. Now, finally, we have the last Pokemon. Now, this is the semi-story spoiler, so if you want to bow out now, by all means, bow out. Thank you for sticking around for so long. It's been 30 minutes. Probably going to be a little bit less than that because I have to edit it. But, yeah, so Necrozama. Psychic. Now, I labeled it Ultra Beast, but I'm having some rumors spread around that it's not an Ultra Beast. It's actually the third Pokemon in the Legendary Trio. If that's the case, then this thing will definitely not be legal in VGC. And realistically, it's really damn strong, so I really don't think it will be, but I put it here just in case. It looked like an Ultra Beast to me, so I kind of just labeled it an Ultra Beast. So, stats are 97 HP, 107 attack, 101 defense, 127 special attack, 89 special defense, and 79 speed. But what makes this thing even bulkier than that is that its ability is Prism Armor, which is basically Filter. Super effective attacks are weakened. I don't know the exact numbering on it. It might not be exactly as strong as Filter. All my damage calculations are with Filter, but we're going to go into the moveset real quick. This thing actually has a pretty solid moveset, if I can remember correctly. It gets healing in Moonlight and Morning Sun, which is very odd, and also another reason to think that this thing is actually the trio, because it gets Moon and Sun. It gets Gravity, which is an excellent option. That's actually a pretty solid option. It gets, I'm trying to see what else it might get. It gets Light Screen, it gets Reflect. That seems to be about it. It does get Swagger, and it does get T-Wave if you want to run something kind of interesting. But what's really good about this is you can hit, you know, pretty hard with him. So, you know, you can kind of do a more offensive setter, but he's still defensive, so it just works really well. Now looking at the stats are really great. So Vikavolt, 252 special attack, modest. Necrozama is running 252 HP, 72 defense, and 184 special defense, sassy nature. So Vikavolt, 252 special attack, positive nature, so modest. Specs, Bug Buzz with Prism Armor, calculated as Filter, 79 to 94%, which is a 2-hit KO. And then Buzzswole, which is 139 attack, 252 attack, positive nature, so adamant. Banded, Leech Life, 83.8 to 99%. It's very bulky. It is very bulky. Those are literally the strongest super effective attacks in the game, in the Alola Dex. Nothing is stronger than that. So if it can survive those two, it can survive pretty much everything. So that's perfect. If this thing is an Ultra Beast, this might be the #1 Trick Room setter to use. I think this and Porygon 2 will work very well together. If it's not legal, well, thank God, because this thing is basically the new Cresselia. It doesn't get Helping Hand, unfortunately, but it can survive against everything, so that is amazing. But that's it. Now, I'm going to say a couple of things real quick. I went through all the Trick Room setters legal in Alola. I'm going to scroll through this really quickly. You can pause it. These are every single one except for one, and I'll explain that in a second. These are every single Trick Room setter with stats calculated against the strongest Pokemon in the game. Some of these are kind of wrong. Like if you see Delmise using Delmise right there, if you see Delmise using Steel, it's a little bit wrong because the ability has been confirmed to be slightly less than Stab, so I have to go over those, but for the most part, these are all my thoughts. So first of all, I'm going to say Alakazam, Gengar, Bruxish, Starmie, Spinda and Porygon Z, don't ignore the Smeargle, read the sentence for that, are not to ever be used for Trick Room. Porygon Z is outclassed by Porygon 2. There's literally no reason to run Porygon Z over Porygon 2. Spinda does not do anything, so do not run Spinda. Starmie is just too weak, too frail to do anything, and doesn't really offer anything in terms of abilities. So like, even though like, for example, Espeon is really frail and can, even though it can take some attacks, like, you know, Starmie can kind of take some attacks too. It offers Magic Bounce, which is pretty helpful. Starmie doesn't offer anything, so Starmie, just never use Starmie. I'll get to Gengar in a second. I talked about Bruxus. Alakazam, again, it offers Inner Focus and Magic Guard, sure, but it doesn't take any attacks well at all. And it doesn't offer any support. It just doesn't do anything for your team. Now Gengar has a lot of options, but the problem is that Gengar lost Levitate. Gengar now gets Cursed Body, and because of that, I don't think Gengar is going to be useful. I really don't think Gengar is going to be useful here, and the reason is even though he has the fast option, and I've used Gengar Trick Room before, and it really does work. He can't set up. He's lacking the ground immunity, and he's now weak to ground, and it's just overall I think that hurts him more than it helps him. Curse Body is not going to do anything for him, so unfortunately Gengar is now out. Now, the Pokemon that I did forget was Mismagius. I think Mismagius does fulfill the role that Gengar had, so I think that's okay. I think I didn't run Calx, but if Gengar can survive, I'm pretty sure Mismagius can. And Mismagius gets pretty much the same move pool, so I think Mismagius will be a very solid Gengar, you know, replacement. But yeah, scroll through this. As I said, I scrolled through it slowly, pause so you can see what my thoughts are. I think things like Hypno are actually going to be pretty solid, especially if Necrozma is banned. Hypno is actually going to be pretty solid here. It takes hits like a champ. And has some really good options in Insomnia and Inner Focus. So I think I like this meta because it really opens up a lot of the Trick Room. I'm just kind of sad that we're missing some of the better Trick Room setters, such as Aromatisse. I do think that if Necrozma isn't legal, Porygon 2 will be the best Trick Room setter in Alola. There's just nothing that can KO this thing. This thing is a god. It's god tier. I mean, like, look at this. Pharasma, which is the bug fighting special type attack, 130 special attack base, 252 special attack, timid, because this thing needs to run timid. Life Orb, Focus Blast, doesn't even one hit KO. Buzzswole, 252 attack, positive, superpower. It doesn't survive Choice Band, but who cares, because no one's going to be running Choice Band. I love this. I love this. So Porygon 2 is definitely going to be one of the better setters. There's no escaping that. Eviolite Porygon 2 is strong. I love it. So either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. Oh yeah, and like things like Carbink. Carbink is actually relatively useful right now. I love it. It's actually relatively useful. It can do stuff. There's not a lot in the game outside of Steel types that can really hurt it that much, which is great. So either way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope to catch you guys at the next episode. Peace.